Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 10th episode of Discover Hospitality series, where we discover hidden jobs, careers, and opportunities in the hospitality industry and share advice for students, graduates, and those of us with a few years of experience and anyone else in the hospitality industry. I'm your host, Maria Malaniia, a hospitality graduate, a guest experience and hospitality brand specialist, and the founder of Savvy Hotelier, a place for hospitality students to ask questions, find resources for their studies, and beyond. Discover Hospitality series dives into many areas of the industry, such as events, travel, wine, entrepreneurship, hotels, restaurants, and much, much more. It really show what's possible for each and every one of us in this wonderful industry. Today's event is about careers in marketing. And with me today, I have four panelists who are going to help us discover what careers are possible in the marketing niche and of the hotel or the corporate side of the hospitality industry. We'll share with you real life practical examples of different ways you can pursue this part of the industry and what kind of jobs you can have. Whatever you are in your career stage, you're going to be inspired and hear lots of interesting stories from these fantastic panelists. So, huge thank you to all four of you for joining me. And before I introduce our panelists, I just want to say that if you have any questions, if there's anything on your mind about careers in industry, and if there's something that pops up halfway 10 minutes through the panel, please pop them in the comment section. We will make sure to address them throughout. So we're not waiting to the end to address your questions. This is an open conversation. So, without further ado, let's meet the panel. First up, we have Jenn Zajac, a hotel copywriter, content strategist, and online course creator for the hospitality industry. Jenn has worked for herself for a while now, but before taking on entrepreneurship, she spent time in hotels and corporate offices, looking after everything from social to content to e-commerce. Great to have you on, Jenn. Next up, we have Aoife O'Toole, currently a digital marketing leader at Skyscanner. Having previously worked at Deliveroo and IHG, she specializes in paid social media side of marketing. And she's got an amazing career growing and her skills and expertise in the area of all things social. And I'm sure has a huge career ahead of her as well. Thank you for joining, Aoife.
Thanks, Maria. Excited to be here.
Great. And next up, we have Juliana Hahn, a copywriter for the hospitality and tourism industry as well. She graduated from Le Roche Hotel School in Switzerland and then worked her way through various restaurants and hotels all over the world. But then randomly, I guess, she'll tell us all about it. She pivoted to PR and is now running a successful copywriting business herself. Thank you for joining, Juliana.
Hi, Maria. Thanks for having me on.
Great. And last but not least, we have Anna Fonseca. Anna entered hospitality industry in a restaurant and as receptionist slash bartender, quickly found her way to marketing. Currently, Anna works at Andaz London Liverpool Street and has done so for almost 6 years. So looking after all of the areas of marketing at that property. Thank you for joining, Anna.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Great. Well, now I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to hand over to our panelists to tell us all about their stories. And why don't we start with Juliana? What is your story? How did you get started in hospitality? Why did you choose this industry and study of work?
That's a great question with a long answer, really. I originally wanted to go into science many years ago, but then I realized that that wouldn't allow me to travel as much especially not for work. And at a career fair, I came across La Roche and Guyon and thought that the idea of working all over the world and meeting guests and also staff from all over the world would be just awesome. So within a few minutes of talking to the reps from the schools, I was just absolutely sold on the idea of working in hospitality. So I started my studies and had amazing opportunities with internships around the world as well, and really enjoyed just diving into especially the F&B sector, which was like my area for most of my time in hotels. And I just really loved that. I thought it was exciting to be in this very fast-paced department and just work with so many people, not just your immediate team, but also like the kitchen and then the admin and back, and of course your guests, right? but yeah, after some time, I was missing a bit of the creative aspect. Like I always really enjoyed writing, like since always, since school, and I kind of wanted to get back into that. And at some of my jobs, I was helping out with creating some like small marketing materials for the F&B office. So that kind of got me interested in like in writing, in creating this marketing content, and I started doing some digging and realized that even if you're not working in marketing in a hotel directly, like there's still job opportunities out there where you can actually work in marketing in the hospitality industry without being with a hotel directly. So I pursued that and came across copywriting. I thought that was like the perfect fit since it really zooms in on this writing aspect of marketing. And yeah, I started off with a few online courses on copywriting, and then just began practicing. Like I started writing little things for myself. I started looking at companies that I wanted to work for, and did just random like blog posts or website content for them, not necessarily to pitch to them, like just to practice for me as I was building a client base. Then when I moved to Thailand to join my husband there, I had a fantastic opportunity to join a PR agency. And there I was just thrown in the deep end and got to write content for all of these amazing companies they were representing. And that just gave me so much practice. And then being in there with the whole PR team just really broadened my perspective on what you really need to get your brand out there. And after some time, I branched out myself, and here I am now, working as a copywriter for the hospitality industry. You're still on mute, Maria.
Right, that had to happen. Yeah, it's a brilliant example of you not having a hobby and interest, but didn't really think to pursue it professionally until later on. Then you kind of came across it. It's just, yeah. Thank you. Great story. And let's take it to Aoife. After starting, you started your marketing career in the electricity company. Then you landed at IHG, where we met. Moved to Delivery now with Skyscanner, which is a really cool company. How would you describe your career so far? Is it kind of careful planning? Is it a bit of serendipity, or is it maybe something else, maybe some other way?
Oh, good question. I think it's been a little bit random. Rather than having any kind of set goal or for an industry I wanted to work in, I think I've just kind of followed the opportunities as they've arisen. So it was cool to get the call from you, Maria, to take part in this, because I realized it's been about 10 years since I left university and finished my degree, and I really didn't have a plan when I left. Ireland was in the middle of a recession, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I had originally thought I might go into teaching. So I took a job in an outsource center or a call center, and started working on the kind of email side of things there, and then started taking on some of the social community management, as we would call it now. And this is back before paid social was really a thing. So it was all based around the community. It was all based around content, speaking to customers every day. And I think that was a great basis just for my career when I started back then. So I'm able to like build from that. And even now, although it's less on the community management side and brand and more on paid, I still haven't forgotten that connection to the user. So after moving to London about 6 years ago, I got a job at IHG. And that was great. That was really opened my eyes to the world of hospitality, and working directly with hotels and getting opportunities there to speak to people who worked in every kind of area of hospitality has really helped. From then moving to Deliveroo, again, I think I was just after some kind of adventure. I was really excited about what they were doing within the company and how I'd be able to learn. So that's been quite a common theme as well. And now it's Skyscanner. Again, moving back into travel, which is brilliant. I mean, you can't ask for a better product to market or to try and, or to speak about and to be involved in every day. So I've really enjoyed it, kind of coming full circle again. And yeah, all I'd say is in that, just thinking about, it's good to have goals, but also just be open to the opportunities as they arrive and be adventurous and open to whatever comes your way.
Mm. Yeah, we've heard this a lot on this panel. Really, you can have a plan, but you don't have to have a plan. Sometimes you just have to be open to what comes your way and be able to adjust the plan if you do have one, because opportunities come and go. Great. Let's introduce Anna. Anna, tell us your story. How did you get started in hospitality? How did you choose area? You had to choose marketing area when you were working in restaurants.
Well, very much like Aoife, I didn't choose the marketing life. The marketing life chose me. It's actually a very similar story. So I had no idea what I wanted to do after university. Also left my hometown in Lisbon in the middle of a recession, and then decided London, here I go. With the difference that I didn't start at a call center. I started pulling pints behind a pub. So that's hospitality basics for me. That's how I got into the whole means. But the marketing story is it's a rollover from that. So I got tired of pulling pints at some point and realized, wait, there has to be more than this. So I started looking for more opportunities, and actually went and work as a head receptionist to a very, very posh restaurant in Piccadilly Circus, which then led me to move down, actually up to their events office as a support for their events team. And at some point, the director realized, wait a minute, we need some marketing side to this, a bit more salesy. And he gave me the choice. Do you want to go on the events team, or do you want to I need to create a marketing team. Do you want to take over that, or do you want to go to the events team? And I said, marketing all the way. And that's how I started. I mean, once I had the role, I realized that's what I truly like to do. And it really rolled over from that. So it's a curious story that I say that my marketing career started by pulling pints, but it truly is the case. Because that's what pushed me to figure out what I wanted and what I could do and what I was capable of. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a similar story. Someone saw something in you as well, and you saw an opportunity, and perfect clash, and there we go. Got a whole career in marketing. Right, Jenn, let's take it to you. Let's hear your story. Why and how did you choose hospitality for your career? And tell us how you joined Fairmont and work your way from there.
Yeah, so thank you for having me as well. Thank you for letting me back in after my little laptop decided to freeze at a perfect moment as we're starting. But yeah, much as others have said, the hospitality life found me as well. At university, I was in university in Florida where I grew up, and happened to be in Orlando actually, which is like the theme park capital of the US. But hospitality was not really on my radar at all. I decided after leaving school that I really wanted to try living in a proper city. So I moved up to Boston and just started, applying for every entry-level marketing, communications, PR gig that I could find. And it was just pure happenstance, really, that I was hired as the marketing coordinator for the Fairmont Copley Plaza Hotel, this very grand, very historic building in the center of the city. And I, much as Anna said, I had people who believed in me there. I had two amazing bosses who really supported me and challenged me, but also empowered me to try new things, to dabble in social media, which was kind of, starting to come up at the time. And so I spent a number of years there, eventually grew into an area position as we had another hotel in the city at the time. So I started to work on that property as well. And after a few years, you get itchy feet a little bit. And I decided, it had been a lifelong dream of mine to move to London. Everyone wants to move to London on this panel, I think. And so I decided to go after that dream and joined Anna actually in London at Hyatt, in an area position there for a couple of years, looking after a couple different hotels, doing a pre-opening, working on a franchise, like everything under the sun. But eventually I realized I missed the sun. So I decided that I needed a change, decided to go into freelancing as well, sort of like Juliana, decided to head to Southeast Asia and work from there. So it's been kind of a wild ride, but excited to see where it leads me next.
Great. Yeah, well, it looks like London made lots of marketeers in hospitality by chance, maybe by plan. Well, yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's yeah, again, adds on to this: be open to opportunities, take chances, and you never know what's going to happen. Most of you mentioned that you kind of stumbled onto marketing again, like it found you, I suppose that's what Anna said. When it comes to someone who's already currently studying in a bachelor's degree and are interested in marketing, what should they think about when applying for a job in the marketing coordinator or marketing sales coordinator? Is there any particular training that they should have? Is there anything particular skills or qualifications they should be looking at? Aoife, maybe you want to give it a go?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure about that role in particular, but I think when it comes to the paid space or thinking about like specific channels, if you don't have experience already and you're still kind of in that, you're still a student, there's lots of free online courses that you can take with the particular partners. So you can get you can do verified courses with the likes of Google, Facebook have the same, Twitter has its own like advertising course as well that you can do. So all of that I think will show great desire and intent if you do talk to a potential employer. And for me, I think when I've done interviews in the past, particularly for kind of more entry-level positions, I really want to see the passion somebody has for the area. If I ask you about, a great marketing campaign that you've seen recently, you should be able to talk about that, or what kind of channels you're interested in, what kind of media you consume. And I think, especially for younger people as well, like their media usage is going to be very interesting for the likes of bigger companies who maybe are trying to keep on top of trends. So use all of that to your advantage. See what the free resources are out there, and then just make sure that you're showing the passion you have.
Yeah, and Anna, what do you think when you're recruiting for your hotel, or do you look at qualifications like Chartered Marketing Institute, or is it not as important?
I absolutely agree that because it is indeed important to see your passion on the role, and ultimately that's what's going to drive you to want to know more and want to learn more. I'm lucky to currently work in a company, and I've had the opportunity to hire a fantastic team as well. And one of our company's main purposes in hiring people is indeed for their passion. We care for who you are, not so much for what you know, because that we can teach you, especially for entry level roles like we're discussing here. In regards to qualifications, yes, they are important. But I mean, look at my case. I have a bachelor's in architecture. My degree is in photography and visual culture. So it's not so much about where you come from, is where you want to go, and just think about what unique set of skills you have that makes you that one perfect match for that specific role that you want. And if you don't find that you have those tools yet, go get them. Think about what makes you passionate and where you want to go, and try to find your own way to get there. This is why these talks exist. Get in touch with someone, talk, get your CV checked. Not so much, for example, Eve tried to focus a lot on the digital side, so social media, your use of channels. For example, one of the needs that I had for my team to complement was on the creation of actual content and the collaterals and the photography. So that side is also very important if you want to be a more broad knowledge marketeer and that's definitely a skill that is also very valuable. Is, can you work with Adobe softwares, for example, that Photoshop, that Illustrator? Can you work with a photography camera? Of course, these are not essential, but it doesn't hurt to have those skills. And I find that to be a marketer, you have to be very visual and creative in that sense. So it's find what you like, and then you can go which direction of marketing best suits you. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there are so many ways, and let's talk about that. Let's talk how many different niches of marketing there are. I mean, Jenn, do you want to kind of give that a go? It's obviously we have on property where you started, and we have corporate side of things. But like a brief outline.
Oh, okay. Yeah, happy to. So, I think speaking to Anna's point as well, when you're first starting out, it does help you to be a bit more of a generalist, I think, to be super curious and to want to try and dabble in all the different functions, from the graphic design and the creative side to the data and the analytical side, and try and just gobble up as much of that knowledge and absorb as much as you can early on, because I think as you progress, up the ladder or through the company, it does help to start niching down a bit more and getting a bit more specific, or T-shaped, as they say, to kind of have more deeper specialization, which I think, and Juliana probably would agree, in terms of the writing side of things. That's definitely where I found my passion and enjoyment, and being able to focus on that actual passion where that aligns with your skills, is only gonna help you in your career in the long run. But as for like where the positions sort of end up on property, I think that is a challenge still, to be honest, because when you're a marketing coordinator, marketing manager, or even director at a hotel property, you are often still, kind of forced to be that generalist, and sort of start bringing in maybe a PR agency to fill some of those gaps, or hiring interns to try and build up and teach different specializations. So it can be very challenging trying to like do it all. And thankfully, though, at least from my experience working for big brands and chains, we're lucky to have a lot of resources in our corporate offices. With Fairmont, we had a huge team in Toronto. With Hyatt, they're in Zurich and Chicago, and there's all these experts in those specific fields. So your SEO team, your content team, and they're there to support you. So I do think that is a real benefit as well, to kind of build those relationships and learn from those specialists as you grow and evolve in your career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you mentioned, there are corporate offices in different locations. Yeah, and on property, I find it really depends on what the hotel is like and how they organize. It could be just one marketing manager who does all the 10 things, but it could be a marketing director, sales manager, social media exec, PR coordinator. There could be so many different roles, and it's an interesting way, I think, it could be to get that general perspective and then figure out, okay, do I want to specialize in one of these areas or not? Welcome back, Juliana. I hope your internet is going to let us have you on for a little while longer. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about training in terms of kind of career opportunities within training. You took online courses to become copywriter, to kind of hone your skills. You did things yourself. I guess, how come you went entrepreneur onto the entrepreneur side versus finding another sort of bigger agency to work with to do that?
Well, after I did my basic training, like doing those online courses and really learning some of the basics that you need for copywriting and marketing, I actually started working with that PR agency fairly quickly. And that was really a great training experience. Like, I was not an intern or a trainee. I was like their full-time copywriter, and they really allowed me to work with all the big names they were representing. So that was not just hospitality. They they represented companies from all different backgrounds. So there was like Ericsson in technology, there was Radisson in hospitality, and several more. So I was very lucky to be able to get this really broad view of different companies and what different industries need as well, right? Like some industries require or more like a lighthearted style, others are maybe more corporate or professional. So that was really great to see. But then as hospitality will have it, and my husband also works in hospitality, we moved away from Bangkok. So I started working like part-time with the agency I was with, and stayed on with them for a little while when I had moved to Vietnam with my husband for his next job. But it was just a bit difficult to keep everything lined up, and I also wanted to get back to working more with hospitality again. Like as much as I enjoyed working with companies from all these different industries, like there was this kind of tug to get me back into the hospitality field. So yeah, I used this part-time arrangement I had with the agency to have a bit more time to find my own clients, and I basically just started pitching companies that I thought were interesting. So I got to work with a few very cool brands in Vietnam, like a small luxury boutique cruise line, for example, and a really cool startup that kind of works with Airbnb to do like vacation rentals. But then I also looked at like hospitality tech, which really had not been on my radar at all before. And there I found some really, really interesting clients, and some clients that I've been working with from the beginning of my freelance journey until now, which is like 4 to 5 years now. So that's quite cool.
Yeah.
And the one reason why I wanted to work more independently was because that would give me the flexibility to move again whenever like my husband's job might require it, or that I could also kind of pick my clients in a way, because if you're working with an agency and maybe you don't know anything about an industry that you're supposed to represent now, it can be a bit hard to get into that. And maybe if you're not super interested in that industry either, it makes it even more difficult. So being in this hospitality field, I knew, okay, that's my area. I know this. I've worked in it before. And that really made it like kind of a no-brainer for me to pick hospitality and to also go freelance as well, and do it kind of on my own terms.
Yeah, it's life sometimes provides you these opportunities, and you have to kind of take them. Entrepreneurship is oftentimes just comes to you. I've realized that speaking to people have started up businesses. If you want to be flexible, right, that's just one way to go. That's super interesting, yeah, because you still have hospitality within you, and you want to use that in a different way. I want to address a question from an audience. As Nicola Harris says, what is the most effective marketing campaign you have been involved with, and what made it so effective? I'm going to give it to Aoife.
Oh, me first. Most effective. For me, sometimes it's not about the big budget brand pieces, but I think in the last year, I've been really excited about how we've reapproached our BAU. And I think it's been obviously a very tough year for travel. And one of the opportunities it gave us, though, is to think about, okay, well, what had been working well previously? How do we want to set ourselves up for success in the future? What are the new kind of things that we can address? And one thing that I've enjoyed doing is collaborating more with the likes of our in-house creative team to really work on our iterative testing. So in Skyscanner, I managed the paid social and display team. So there's a lot of opportunity for testing there. So in the last, I would say, at least 6 months or even longer, we've been working a bit closer with our design team to share more insights, to get that kind of feedback loop even shorter, and just test more and try and improve the bottom line of our BAU, which doesn't sound as exciting sometimes, because it's nice to work on big budget pieces, but if that isn't possible with the current climate, then I think paying attention to your BAU, then that's also great. So yeah, that's been it for me.
Fair enough. Fair enough. It's important to have to think about all the aspects of the marketing piece. And I want to take another question from Maria as well. What's the one big hotel travel campaign that impressed you most in the recent year, maybe before? I'm thinking if you have anything, any givers, takers, who want to raise their hand for this one. No. No impressive campaigns. Come on, Anna.
I mean, I have to confess, with lockdown and furlough, I have not been on it. The last thing I wanted to think about was marketing. So nothing really that jumped. And this is possibly a very bad thing to be saying on this right now. But on the plus side, really looking after my mental health was the priority. So I have to confess, that really nothing jumped to me lately. But on that note, Jenn, I have a question for you. Do you remember that campaign we were awarded? We were not awarded, we were nominated. And I cannot for the life of me remember what it was.
Yeah, I think are you thinking of Bed, Flicks, and Chill?
That's the one, yes.
That was fun. That was a fun one.
Thank you so much. I mean, it was a while ago, and that's something that we were involved with at the property that we were both working at the time, Andaz London, that I'm still at, and it was just a smart take on the Netflix and chill, of course, and it was just a small package that included movies with your stay. But it was just a creative way to turn around it. And once again, I think these campaigns are very much with the opportunity. Sorry, my brain just froze. So just take inspiration from what's around you, and just take the opportunity to launch something that's really smart at the time. And most of the times, that's the creative success of the campaign. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, that's okay. No worries. Well, it is. It's a tough time. I didn't expect you to have an answer on the fly. But I think that's an interesting story of kind of just using something people on an everyday basis, the language, the things that we say, and turning them around in a way that works. Okay.
Maria,
right,
I could jump in with just a really quick general
Yeah.
sort of thing that I had noticed, and it's not specifically one property, but I feel like in the last year, what I've seen a lot of are brands and businesses, I'm sorry to use the word we all hate at this point, pivoting, but putting their services online, creating, I think Auberge Collection and Four Seasons, some of those brands, I saw a lot of like streaming yoga classes with their colleagues, cooking classes with their executive chef. I think there's been so many examples of brands getting kind of creative and just using what they already have and being adaptable and agile. I think agility has been the biggest lesson. Well, one of the biggest lessons from the last year, being able to just think on your feet and try a different approach. I think sometimes in hospitality, we don't love trying new things. We like to do what's been working for decades or what have you. And if the last year taught our industry, well, many things, but I hope one of them is that it's okay to jump in and try something new, get on a different platform, experiment with new mediums. So not a specific brand necessarily in that example, but speaking a bit more generally on that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We do. I think there's a lot of learnings from last year for hospitality. Juliana, do you usually have to convince your clients to try new things, to try some risky descriptions and things like that, or are they usually happy with what you do because you're so great at it?
Well, it's a combination of different things. Like sometimes my clients come to me with an idea, like they already know exactly what they want to do. And it's basically just, okay, we need this to be done. How do you think is the best way to do it? And we have these ideas, and let's go, basically. So that's quite easy usually to work on projects like that, because like everyone already knows what they want. Then sometimes if it's more of a less concrete idea, it's just kind of like floating around and you need to just like boil it down a bit. That's where we'll have discussions, like everyone will bring in their suggestions. I do make my own suggestions, of course, but like I don't really like push my clients to do anything they're not comfortable with, or that they wouldn't like identify their brand with. I think that should come more from the inside. Like I'll make suggestions for something new or for something different, but then like I said, yeah, if they're not comfortable to try something like that, then I won't like push too much in that direction.
Mm. And do you usually work, what kind of clients would you work with? So in terms of identifying jobs and opportunities within the marketing space. So is that a marketing manager on one hotel property, or is it a creative agency as well as a tech supplier, or who are the sort of people that you work with?
Oh, there's a whole range of different people, really. Like if it's with hotels, then it depends on the hotel's size. Like sometimes it's the GM, because it's a small property and they don't like have all of these subdivisions. Then other times it's been people in sales, so they need sales materials. So they would ask me to create like customer success stories or their newsletters, for example, which I always thought was more from the marketing side in the beginning, but then like in some of the companies I've worked with, it's been the sales team managing that. So yeah, like the GM, the sales team, the marketing manager as well. Then with some of the tech companies I work with, they'll have their in-house content team, and they're just outsourcing bits and pieces here and there. So I'll be working with one of their content supervisors, for example, or the marketing manager. Again, it depends on the size of the company. So sometimes they'll have one person in charge of marketing that handles everything, right? They'll handle the media outreach, they'll handle the content, the website, and just everything else that goes into marketing. But then as some of my clients have grown, it's like, okay, the marketing person is now the director, for example, and they've hired a content specialist, and they've hired like a few other positions. So my contact person might change within the company as well, and move from one person to the next, or I'll talk to different people in the same company about different projects. So it really depends on the project and the company.
Yeah, it really shows the variety of opportunities and different kind of contacts you can have, and could be a social media specialist, could be just a general marketing manager, right?
Absolutely.
I want to ask Aoife, because you are a specialist in social media, paid social media specifically. So even if looking at marketing, social media, you're even kind of further down a niche and looking at mostly paid sort of side of things. How did you come across paid, and why should someone consider this as a niche within their potential marketing career?
Cool. How did I get into it? So, like I think I mentioned previously, I started my marketing career more on the community management side. But as part of that, there was a lot of content creation as well, and moderation, kind of the whole bundle. And then it was actually when I was working in IHG at the time, we were interested in just at a very basic level, trying to increase our reach, boosting our posts, trying to reach our existing customers, so fans of our page, that kind of thing. So that was my first experience into it. And then it kind of grew from there as we started considering it for bigger campaigns. Kind of had to learn on the spot. Relied heavily on our Facebook rep at the time. And again, like I mentioned earlier, the kind of free online resources, and even tools like we have today, like with the live stream we're currently on. There was a lot of learning from each other at the time because it was so new. Everyone was kind of figuring out the best practices at the same time. So that was really exciting. And yeah, so it kind of grew from there, and it's really just developed based on the companies I've been involved with and the brand needs at the time. I think it's a great area to be involved in because you get a little bit of the creative side, a little bit of the technical side. You're very in touch with what else is happening in the business. So you have a good view of holistically, what are people doing on site? How can we use those insights for our campaigns? What's happening in product, maybe what's on the roadmap within the app, and how can we build that into our future plans? So you kind of get a good overview of everything that's happening in the company, and it's left back for you then to figure out how you can use those insights to best improve your campaigns. So some days I'll be just talking to engineers and digging into the details of what's happening in a post-cookie world, and it gets really technical and interesting. And then the next day it could be just brainstorming about a big brand campaign that's happening and what are the cool new placements that we might want to test. So I think paid is great because you get a little bit of both, and it's changing all the time. So you're always going to have a challenge and be able to try something new.
Yeah, that's it's an interesting thing you mentioned, that there is a lot of technical side to it. There's a lot of analytics, actually. There's a lot of data that goes into marketing in general, but of course, especially in paid, you want to make sure you're investing in the right places so you get a return on investment there. And I think a lot of people, myself included, they're interested in marketing because it's creative, and I am creative, and I want to use my creativity, but either don't know or neglect the analytical side of things. So you don't actually have to be the most innovative designer to actually work in marketing, because you can synthesize the data and come up with relevant campaigns and information. And you can do both. You can do either. You have to find whatever works for you, right? Great. Okay. So in terms of kind of how to find what you're looking to, if you stumbled upon paid, you stuck with it, you really like it. How does someone who is currently in the sales and marketing coordinator role, because there usually is a role that is both sales and marketing on property, kind of how do they choose sales or marketing? Because those are very different things, and oftentimes if you want to specialize, you have to choose quite early on. I know, Jenn and Anna, do you want to give some tips on how to choose between either?
I'm happy to start because actually one of my entry-level roles in marketing was indeed a sales and marketing position. So I started with Hyatt as an F&B sales and marketing executive, and I was reporting directly to the director of F&B, which this was my first role in a big company, in a big corporation, and also in a hotel. And I was looking after 6 restaurants and bars. And all of a sudden I had all of this under me. And I'm like, what do I do now? It was a bit panicky at first. And I was sort of relying on my director to give me the guidance into the role, which he sort of trusted me to then take on, which also gave me the freedom to then make the role what I wanted. So this balance between sales and marketing sort of came automatically. Within the F&B business, it was very easy to understand where I was needed, because of course I wouldn't be working on all of the restaurants at the same time, but I also had to do it, so it was very important to time manage. And I think the advice here is, don't get scared, take it one step at a time, and just trust that if someone actually gave you that role is because they trust you to do the job. So take a step back, look at what you have in front of you, and find your own balance. It was scary at first, but I was actually ultimately very appreciative of the opportunity I was given to make the role what I wanted. How you choose after, it goes back to what Jenn said initially. Yes, it's an entry role, so you do a bit of everything. And then as you progress in your career, you then start figuring out what you like, what you want to specialize in more, what you actually want to do, what gives you the most pleasure, what you get a kick out of doing, what makes you jump out of bed on Monday morning instead of curling up in bed crying on a Sunday night, So you do make your own course, which is great. For me, it was definitely the marketing side, absolutely. it came from that creativity. For Juliana, is the writing. For me, is everything that comes on the other side. And I'm lucky that the company has an amazing digital team support that gives me all the data I need for all the social campaigns and so on. So I don't have to worry about that, luckily. So yeah, it's all about figuring out where you want to be.
Anything to add, Jenn?
Yeah, sure. So a little bit different from coming up as sales and marketing. When I first started, I was technically marketing and PR. So my role was kind of lumped into both. I reported to a DOSM, Director of Sales and Marketing, and a Director of PR at our particular property. And yeah, very similarly, as Anna said, I was sort of just thrown in head first. I personally went into it thinking that I was going to like the PR side of things more. PR sounds very glamorous, the parties and the events and the meeting journalists and all that fun stuff. And yeah, I was like, oh, I actually don't like working off hours all these nights and weekend events, and doing this stuff doesn't really do it for me. So I eventually realized that I preferred the digital, the marketing, the campaigns, the analytics, all that stuff where I can just sit in front of my laptop in the corner and just like get really stuck into it. And yeah, as Anna said, I also was very fortunate to have bosses, managers that supported that growth and challenged me, encouraged me, and empowered me to kind of figure that out for myself at a younger age. And I think that's really, really important, not just in marketing, but in really all aspects of every career. Having that support, that mentorship early on really, really makes a big difference in your professional happiness, your mental health, all of that fun stuff. So yeah, that's something I would definitely encourage anyone who's coming up in a hospitality career to find a mentor, find someone who you admire that, you know, is welcoming with their time and supporting of you and encouraging you to find what you love in the industry, because there's so much to love about the industry. So.
And I do kind of have to say, is Rise Up does offer mentoring opportunities. So if anyone's interested, I'm sure there's going to be a comment posted in the chat right now, so you can sign up and access mentoring opportunities. But both of you actually said you tried both sales and marketing, sales and PR, and you realized, oh, I like this one better, so you wanted to pursue in that path. And that's so interesting that you actually thought PR was going to be your thing until you tried it. And you're like, oh, actually, no, I want to be by myself. I don't want to talk to strangers all the time. And it's just that perception versus reality. Like you may think you want to do revenue management, but actually you're better at finances, which is completely different, actually, if you think about it. And those sort of things, you have to give it a go. And I think earliest part in your career is the perfect time to try things out. That's why the management training programs are so popular, because they actually make you try everything out, and then you get to choose what is that you want to specialize in and focus in. And even if it's just, if you don't get a chance to do the job, speak to the people who do that job and see if you can shadow them and learn a little bit. And I mean, there's 1,000 and a million resources nowadays, of course, to learn what these jobs are like. So don't just assume that it's glamorous, because business travel is glamorous on paper. It's not really that glamorous. So yeah, fantastic. Thank you so very much. I mean, we're about 10 minutes left of this 1 hour here. And I want to talk just briefly about personal branding and entrepreneurship. And Juliana, I'll start with you here. Obviously, you started your business 6 years ago almost now. Personal branding is many things. It's what people talk about you, what people say about you when you leave the room, I think is the saying. But it's also your public persona on the internet. This is personal branding for us, and being live on this panel, posting posts on LinkedIn, so many other things, and having a website or not having a website. You know, how you present yourself. What kind of tips do you give to someone who's trying to stand out from the crowd and build that personal brand?
Yeah, that's there's so much that goes into personal branding. It can be a bit hard to pick just a few things, but well, for one thing, I would look at what do you offer? Like, what is like your specialty, your unique thing? What sets you apart? Like in my case, I thought, okay, as a hospitality copywriter, like I'm not a copywriter for everything. Like I focus on hospitality, right? So that's already a differentiator. And then like find that for yourself. And if you want to be present on social media or like have your website, I think it's great to look at what others are doing. Like what are other, in my case, copywriters doing? Maybe what are other hospitality copywriters doing? And then see maybe what looks great, what do you like, and how could you adapt that to your style? Like, I'm not saying copy what other people are doing. Okay, we're not talking about copying or stealing anything here. It's really like get inspired by others and by successful people who are a few steps ahead of you. They're where you want to be. So see what are they doing and what's working for them. And same for social media. Like look at what's interesting, what are people posting, what do you like to engage with, and then like put your own content out there that that you think your audience or your ideal client might like. And then just you just have to test. Like you have to see what works for you, what works for your brand. Like again, don't try to imitate anyone. Like I think it's important to just be yourself there, like as cheesy as that sounds. But I think it's, especially if you're a one-person show, I think it's really important to just be yourself. Because if you're trying to be all like fun and easygoing, but actually you're more like the formal corporate type or something like that, or the other way around, at the latest, when people actually talk to you, they'll see that that was kind of a facade you put up, and it'll just like not work. So yeah, just be yourself and try and get out there. And like not everything will work, but that's fine. Like you just start over. And like if you worry that a post was horrible and no one saw it, well, if it was that bad, maybe it's good that nobody saw it. So you try again and you do better with the next one, right? So it's just trial and error and like to find your way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's scary to put yourself out there, and you have
It
thoughts
is.
and opinions. Like, I'm gonna just, everyone's gonna see, and everyone's gonna judge me. No one's gonna see, and no one cares at the beginning.
Yeah.
And until
Yeah.
that, that's the point. Like, I guess if no one sees it, okay, well, 5
Yeah.
people saw it, 10 people saw it. Maybe share it with people you trust, and get their honest opinions
Yeah,
as well.
exactly.
That's a really good way to start.
And another thing I noticed, like on LinkedIn, actually, I feel like it's quite supportive, really. Like when I started putting things out there, I got messages and comments and likes from people that I worked with like ages ago, that I went to school with, that I haven't talked to in forever. And then there's a message like, oh, like I saw your thing and that's amazing and good job. And that is so encouraging. So I guess another good thing would be to like go out there and like meet other people and connect with them, leave some encouraging messages for others, and that can come back to you and like help you on your way and help you move forward.
Yeah, be positive for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, last round of question. This is one question for each one of you. Well, same question. And what is your one piece of advice to someone currently, I don't know, student just about to graduate, looking to pursue a career in marketing or looking to try out marketing? What's your advice to them? Anything really. Let's go with Anna, Aoife, Jenn, and Juliana.
My advice is just go for it. Don't be scared. Don't be afraid. It all sounds very daunting and scary, but don't be afraid. Whether you're starting or just taking the next step, or even if you're just thinking that you don't like where you are at the moment, the more you are exposed to more things and to different things, I mean, worst case scenario, you figure out what you don't like. So that's my ultimate piece of advice: is don't be afraid, just go for it. And especially for women, because there's potentially, there's of course less women taking risks, so don't be afraid.
Love that. Thanks, Anna. I think for me, it would be just to say there's no kind of preconceived mold that you have to fit. I definitely thought marketing was like a certain type of person. You have to be so confident and outgoing and an extrovert, and like, you know, that's the only route forward. But actually, there's such a variety of roles out there, and don't be afraid to, you know, play to your own strengths. Whatever interests you, that's going to be your own USP when you think about marketing yourself. So whether you're interested in like the behavioral side of like habits and, you know, tactics for that side of marketing, or actually if it's creative or analytics, like you mentioned, if you just love getting stuck in Excel for the day, like that's also there's also opportunities there for within marketing. So yeah, lean into what you like and just don't be afraid to be yourself.
Yeah, I so agree with everything that's been said. But I think my advice would be to go after opportunities, and if they're not there, create them. You know, if you are early on in your career and you are looking for your first role, for instance, and you have some time, I mean, volunteer, do internships. You know, within reason, don't burn yourself out, obviously, but if you aren't seeing an opportunity for growth, or if you're in a role and you want to grow and progress and get that, you know, next position, manager, look after multiple properties, for instance, you know, don't be afraid to go after it and try and create that, and start speaking to those leaders that, you know, that you're working for, and telling them, explaining to them, this is where I think there's some opportunity, here's how I would approach this, here are my ideas, and just go after it. Because yeah, especially for women, the opportunities are not always just handed to us. We have to take our seat at the table sometimes, and that's okay.
Yeah, I totally agree with what the other three ladies have said. Like, just go out there and try something. And I think that's one of the best things about hospitality, is that it's totally fine to pivot within departments. Like, I've had friends who have shifted from F&B to front office, from guest relations to sales, from like just literally any change you could imagine. And I feel like in hospitality, that's totally accepted. So if you want to make that shift, like Jenn said, like, ask for it, or like push for that a bit, or maybe look for a new opportunity somewhere else. And if I think one thing that holds a lot of people back is saying like, oh, but I don't know enough yet to take on this position. Maybe especially if you've never been in marketing before. It's like, oh, I don't know all the lingo. I don't know how to do copywriting, or how to do social media ads or things like that. Well, there's so many resources out there nowadays that are completely free, and like, read up on things that interest you the most, or where you feel you don't know that much yet, and then come to your new position, or come to your superior with this new knowledge, and show that you've done some work and that you're ready to grow and to learn more.
Yeah, wonderful piece of advice, everybody. Thank you. To summarize, I'm getting, you know, if you're passionate, if you're interested, you just go for it. You find ways to make it happen, whether it's learning by yourself, whether it's volunteering experiences, and speaking to your superiors, mentors, or even just anyone, your colleagues. If you're looking to move to marketing, come speak to the marketing exec. And how is it? Do I want to do your job? How does it work? And bits and pieces, slowly you'll figure it out. You'll find your path, and you'll get there. Especially, I would say one thing to add is, just don't stress about it. It's not going to happen the next 2 years. You're not going to be like instantly this magical promotion to it may happen, but don't set a goal like that. Set a goal to grow and develop and learn, and don't stress about the time. It will come to you when it comes to you. Just because others have faster and more accelerated career path doesn't mean you have to. And I have to remind that myself all the time. When I see people, I'm like, okay, it's all right. I'm doing my thing. And yes, everyone's doing their thing. So just take your time and learn, and you will get there, whatever there is. So yeah, thank you so very much, all four of you, for volunteering your time, for sharing your insights and your stories and your advice. we've come to the full hour, so thank you everyone from the audience for your questions, comments, and engagements. This was the last episode of Discover Hospitality for now, so I do hope to see you again soon, and if not, do check out all the previous episodes. They are live on this LinkedIn page. They are also live on YouTube. You can rewatch them, binge watch them, or not. Completely up to you. So yeah, thank you so very much, and have a lovely morning, afternoon, evening. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.